is Sir Laurence. You can see him sitting at his, his makeup thing, doing his makeup, and Anthony Hopkins asks his advice, and Sir Laurence turning and saying, "When you speak, you are the star." So today we are going to be talking about dialogue. Specifically, we'll be discussing it in terms of prose. I know not everybody here writes fiction, and that's totally okay. We're going to be talking about dialogue in such a way that I think is also going to help those of you who are just visual. I did not mean to say just. Those of you who are visual artists, as well as those of you who are working in any kind of prose or script or anything like that. So, off we merrily go into that. Specific learning outcomes. I need my glasses for that. We're going to be talking about unique ways to apply some things, five elements that we're going to apply to dialogue that you can use for, again, scripts or regular prose. Either one is fine, but we'll also be talking about how to use that for those of you who are artists and how to talk about your works. That's one of the things we're talking about in class, right? How to talk about our own work. And so we'll be getting into that. The value here is that you're going to be bringing your dialogue to life in a way that a lot of writers aren't. When you ask authors, what's the hardest thing to do? A lot of them will say it's dialogue. It's really hard to thread that needle between sounding realistic on the one hand, but also not jumbling up the dialogue so that it's just mealy mouthed the way we normally talk. So we have to kind of find that middle ground. And that's very true. It's a very difficult thing to kind of find balance in. So here we go. We're going to jump in. Number one, if you're taking notes, raise your hand if you know who Anthony Hopkins is. Most of you should know. Okay. Anthony Hopkins was probably most well known as Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. So there we go. Like, bing, yep, okay. So that's Anthony Hopkins. Now he has been for I don't know how many years now, Sir Anthony Hopkins. So he's like a big deal actor, right? But before he was Sir Anthony Hopkins, he was Tony. He was just Tony Hopkins, because he started the way all of us did. He was like 17, 18, just doing a couple shows here and there wherever he could, right? One of the shows he was in, I don't remember what play it was, but he was in a play with Sir Laurence Olivier. And if you don't know who Sir Laurence Olivier is, you should know just by the way I say it. He was largely considered the greatest actor of his generation and the greatest classical actor of his generation. Or if you're like me, you might have seen him in Clash of the Titans playing Zeus. But he was very well-known, very highly respected actor in his day. So Tony Hopkins is in a show, and he's playing like spear carrier number 8 or something like that. And one night, he gets up the gumption to go ask Sir Laurence for acting advice. So he timidly knocks on the door, and Sir Laurence says, "Enter," whatever Sir Laurence says. And Tony comes in and says, "Sir Laurence," and genuflex or whatever it is you do to Sir Laurence. "Do you have any advice for my performance this evening? I just wanted to know." And the way I see it in my head, I don't know if this is what actually happened, but the way I see it in my head is Sir Laurence, you can see him sitting at his, his makeup thing, doing his makeup, and Anthony Hopkins asks his advice, and Sir Laurence turning and saying, "When you speak, you are the star." And then going back and doing his makeup. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what happened, but the advice is spot on. When you speak, you are the star. If I'm on stage with 30 people, right, and you came to see, Hugh Jackman, who's starring in the show, which is probably why I'm there too, but you're there to see him, but I come in and say, "My lord, the English are coming," or whatever the hell, where do you look? Right here. So that might be my only line in the show, but in that little moment, I am the star. That is true of your prose. That is true of your dialogue. If you are writing a story, or a screenplay, or script, whatever it is, and somebody speaks, if you're reading a book right now, you're reading a novel, and you get to this part, so I jumped in the cab and said, "Follow that truck." "Right, understood," said the cabbie. Do you get there and go, "You know what? Cabbie's not that important. I'm just going to skip that line." Like, you're not. You're going to read it. So in that brief little moment, the cabbie is the star. So if somebody's going to be the star, then what they say needs to be important. It needs to reveal character, or it needs to move the story forward. Those are two of the main things that I think Sir Laurence was kind of getting to. For instance, if you have a scene set in, the IHOP or whatever, and two people are having a conversation, and you're going to have, as the writer, you're going to have the server come over and say, "Can I give you some more coffee?" Is that moving the story forward? Is that revealing character? Is there some function? Is there some purpose? If you were writing this down, I would tell you the one word I want you to write down and commit to memory is deliberate. I want you to make a deliberate choice when people speak, when your characters speak. So if she's just coming over and saying, "Can I get you some more coffee?" Is that revealing character or moving the story forward? Yeah, maybe, but probably not. It's just like, well, that's what servers say. Okay, cool. Or could she come over and say, "Ooh, you look like you could use some more coffee"? Did you hear it? That's a little bit different than, "Can I get you some more coffee? You look like you could use some more coffee." Or even better, what if we came back and she came over and said, "You look like you could use something stronger than coffee"? Ooh, did that move the story forward? Did it reveal something about the scene? It did. Those are the choices I want you to make. I want you to make those deliberate choices every time somebody speaks.